Imagine losing enough money in a single year to buy a private island, and still waking up richer than before. This isn't a fantasy. It's how the ultra-wealthy play a different financial game entirely. While most people chase one income stream, the elite build systems that bleed money on purpose, only to resurrect 10 times stronger. Let's dissect their most guarded tactic first. Picture a billionaire investing millions into a startup everyone knows will fail. On paper it looks reckless, but behind the scenes that failure is shielding their empire from taxes, lawsuits, and public scrutiny. They call these sacrificial assets, decoys designed to absorb risk while their real wealth grows untouched. The key isn't avoiding losses. It's choosing which parts of your portfolio to sacrifice so the rest thrives indefinitely. Most investors panic when an asset dips. The wealthy, they plan those dips years in advance. Maybe it's a side business with high visibility but low margins. You let it take the heat during economic downturns, redirecting attention from your core money machines. But here's where amateurs fail. They get emotionally attached. The second their sacrificial assets start struggling, they pour good money after bad. The elite cut the cord without hesitation. They've already moved the real profits into untouchable trusts or intellectual property, patient capital. While others chase quarterly returns, dynasties think in 50-year cycles. A vineyard that bleeds cash for 3 decades suddenly becomes a billion-dollar brand when the founder's grandchild inherits it. Stop diversifying like a rookie. Start strategically bleeding controlled amounts of capital to insulate your crown jewels. One pharmaceutical heir famously sunk $20 million into a doomed VR headset company. The media mocked him, until that failure allowed him to legally offset taxes on a patent portfolio worth 9 figures. Losses aren't tragedies, but this is just the first layer. Because while sacrificial assets absorb hits, there's a darker force quietly multiplying wealth in the background. While you're busy optimizing investments, the ultra-wealthy are exploiting cracks in the system you didn't know existed. Take banking algorithms. Most see them as unbreakable code. The elite see them as piñatas waiting to be smashed. Here's how it works. Every financial system has glitches, outdated regulations, delayed reporting requirements, interest calculation quirks. Instead of fixing these flaws, the rich build automated traps around them. Imagine a loophole where interest compounds hourly instead of daily. To banks, it's a rounding error. To insiders, it's a license to print money through sheer volume. They deploy armies of bots to execute microtransactions that exploit these gaps 24/7. But you don't need coding skills. The real trick is structural arbitrage. Say 2 government agencies define business expenses differently. Create an entity that's simultaneously a non-profit and for-profit corporation in their eyes. How every dollar spent counts twice. Once as a tax deduction, once as an investment. A beverage company turned this tactic into a $13 million annual advantage just by relabeling their R&D department as a charitable foundation. The secret isn't breaking rules. It's bending definitions until the system pays you to exist. Legacy institutions move slowly. By the time regulators notice the pattern, the wealth is parked offshore in litigation-proof trusts. But the juiciest opportunities aren't in finance. They're in decaying infrastructure. One real estate mogul made 8 figures by leasing abandoned subway tunnels as underground data farms after noticing a century-old clause about municipal air rights. While cities debate zoning laws, his servers mine cryptocurrency using geothermal energy from forgotten steam pipes. The lesson: stop competing in crowded markets. Find systems so ancient or neglected that your activity goes undetected for years. A telecom heir built his fortune by reselling unused emergency bandwidth from cellular networks. Carriers must keep 20% capacity free for 911 calls. He created virtual networks that consumed this buffer during off-peak hours, pocketing 90 cents per gigabyte without owning a single tower. The wealthiest don't innovate. They wait for gaps between what's legal and what's enforceable, then plant self-replicating money trees in the fertile soil of bureaucratic indifference. What happens when these digital strategies collide with something primal, something hardwired into human biology? The human brain can't resist certain triggers. The crunch of crisp packaging, the citrus tang of a luxury hotel lobby, the weight of a heavy pen signing contracts. The ultra-wealthy don't sell products, they sell neurological imprints. Take that distinct new car smell. Most think it's incidental. Reality: a patented chemical formula worth billions. Car makers spend more engineering that scent than the seat fabric because it triggers primal ownership signals. Now apply this to income streams. A tech conglomerate recently trademarked a specific keyboard click frequency. Every time you hear that satisfying clack in coffee shops or videos, your subconscious links it to productivity. A chef turned her signature rosemary-infused hand wash into a licensing empire. Upscale restaurants pay her 5 figures monthly just to make patrons associate that aroma with premium dining. But the real gold mine, synesthetic crossovers. A fitness app plays low-frequency vibrations during workouts that users swear taste like mint. After 60 days, they crave exercise like gum. The founder quietly sells these audio files to snack companies fighting obesity lawsuits. Here's your playbook. Audit mundane experiences you take for granted. The texture of your website's scroll function. The tempo of your voicemail greeting. These are unclaimed neurological territories. A YouTuber engineered her camera's focus transitions to mimic eye dilation patterns during intrigue. Viewers watch 7 minutes longer without knowing why. For actionable steps, start with tactile branding. A finfluencer grew his consultancy 300% by shipping metal membership cards that chilled to the touch. Recipients reported feeling the weight of financial responsibility, even though it's just copper-plated stainless steel. Next, weaponize taste metaphors. A venture capitalist pitches startups using flavor analogies. This app is a celery juice idea, healthy but bitter. His mentees raise 40% more capital by framing metrics as sensory experiences. The pattern is clear. While others fight over visual branding, dynasties are colonizing your nervous system. One fragrance tycoon extracts DNA from rare orchids, then copyrights the genetic sequences as nature's royalty fees. Perfume companies now pay him perpetual residuals to avoid lawsuits, even though he never grew a single flower. Your senses aren't just biological tools. They're unregulated stock exchanges, but sensory domination has a weakness, which reveals the next frontier. Not creating demand, but surgically implanting it. Scarcity is dead. The new wealth accelerant, manufactured perishability. The elite don't limit supply. They implant expiration dates in your prefrontal cortex. Watch a luxury watchmaker release 9,000 identical timepieces worldwide. Then, through timed press releases and influencer leaks, convince buyers their specific serial number will become worthless in 8. The product doesn't change. The countdown does. Here's the blueprint. First, identify a service that can't be depleted. Cloud storage, email newsletters, gym memberships. A cybersecurity firm charges triple for ephemeral encryption that self-degrades after 12 months. Users panic renew, though the tech remains unchanged. The trick is anchoring decay to external events. A vitamin subscription service ties price increases to the Federal Reserve's interest rates. Two unrelated systems now psychologically fused. Clients prepay 5 years upfront to lock in immunity. But the ultimate hack, turning time into a consumable commodity. A streaming platform offers identical content in 2 tiers. The premium version plays shows at 1.02 times speed. Members report feeling more productive, unaware they're paying 50% more to save 6 minutes per episode. For pure scalability, study the dark romance novel industry. Publishers release identical plots with customized character names for different reader demographics. Each group believes their version will be discontinued due to licensing issues after 90 days. Sales triple through manufactured tribal exclusivity. The playbook is clear. Attack arbitrary deadlines to infinite goods. A meditation app's free version includes ads read by a soothing voice. The catch, each ad lengthens by 2 seconds daily. After 3 months, users pay just to stop the incremental friction they barely noticed. Meanwhile, dynasties lock in generational scarcity through legal alchemy. A diamond conglomerate patented a clause requiring buyers to return gems after 50 years for ethical recycling. The catch, they legally resell the same stones at 12 times the price as vintage assets. Your move? Identify evergreen offerings in your niche, then engineer disappearance mechanics. A freelance writer replaced hourly rates with cognitive bandwidth tokens. Clients purchase words that decay in value if unused monthly. Revenue jumped 400% as companies hoarded tokens against imaginary droughts. Remember, true urgency isn't about limited inventory. It's about threatening the user's future self. A language app curates identical lesson plans into aging tiers. Subscribers over 35 pay double for content labeled neuroplasticity optimized. Though the algorithms match the basic version, the wealthy don't create demand. They surgically install the fear of demand's evaporation. But these temporal tactics pale against the final weapon, one that binds descendants to wealth through biological imperatives. The final fortress of wealth isn't built in offshore accounts or real estate. It's encoded into DNA. While you debate inheritance taxes, dynasties are engineering lineage itself. Take family offices, not mere wealth managers, but shadow governments for bloodlines. One oversees 230 relatives across 4 continents, each branch assigned economic roles. The artistic cousin gets a trust fund to launch avant-garde galleries that covertly inflate the family's antique holdings. The rebellious nephew? They fund his crypto obsession through shell companies, using his transactions to test regulatory loopholes. Every member becomes an unwitting wealth antibody. The true power move, turning children into tax-neutral vessels. In certain jurisdictions, minors can hold directorship roles without income liability. A shipping magnate's 12-year-old daughter legally owns a fleet of cargo drones, her allowance structured as corporate dividends that compound tax-free until adulthood. But the masterstroke lies in marital arbitrage. 2 families arrange unions not for love, but to merge asset pools without triggering antitrust laws. Their prenups don't protect wealth, they program its growth. One clause might require grandchildren to attend rival universities, ensuring connections across ideological divides. Another stipulates vacations in emerging markets to scout undervalued infrastructure. A banking clan built a private school curriculum that skips literature and math in favor of trust fund architecture and silent partnership negotiations. Graduates don't apply for jobs. They infiltrate boards using kinship vernacular only relatives understand. For those without generational advantages, mirror these tactics through synthetic lineages. Form strategic family pods with complementary skill sets. A group of engineers, lawyers, and psychologists might create a circular ownership structure where each member's milestones trigger financial events for others. One's patent approval unlocks another's real estate fund. Another's court victory lowers the group's insurance premiums. Legacy isn't left to chance. It's gamified. A self-made investor rewrote his will as a blockchain smart contract. Heirs earn inheritance increments by hitting KPI targets like networking with certain CEOs or maintaining specified credit scores. Laziness isn't punished. Mediocrity is programmed out. The lesson: blood matters less than systems. One tech founder adopted 7 adults across different industries, leveraging kinship laws to create a perpetual royalty machine. Each child pays no taxes on gifts under $12,000 annually. He structures their collaborations to flow exactly $11,999 per transaction. A 21-year conveyor belt of untraceable capital. Your legacy won't be decided by your investments, but by how thoroughly you institutionalize your existence. The wealthy don't die. A media titan will transfer his voting shares to an AI trained on 40 years of his boardroom recordings. 5 years post-mortem, his digital twin still outmaneuvers activist investors. Start today. Map your network not as contacts, but as organs in a financial body. Assign metabolic roles. Who filters opportunities, who converts resources, who eliminates threats. Dynasties aren't born. They're coded. It's waiting for your fingerprints.